The CDRLF was established by the NCUA in order to help low-income credit unions and minority depository institutions boost their capacity to provide, safe and affordable financial products and services to their members, and especially to low-income and underserved members within their communities. In addition to the CDRLF grant, the CDRLF does offer low-cost loans to assist credit unions with various liquidity and capital challenges. But we're here to talk about the grant, so we can move on to discuss the 2024 initiatives and the funding amounts. So last week, the NCUA announced through the Notice of Funding Opportunity that they are making $3,465,000 in awards available to eligible credit unions through the 2024 CDRLF grant round. They are funding 6 different initiatives. So I'll start from the top. The first 2, underserved outreach and MDI capacity building. These are in bold and black because these are the 2 initiatives that CU Collaborate can assist credit unions in applying for. Both initiatives carry a maximum award amount of $50,000. There is no asset size limit. However, as we will get into later in the webinar, the scoring criteria do heavily favor credit unions with smaller asset sizes. Beyond that, the 2 initiatives, underserved outreach and MDI capacity building, are both technical assistance grants that can help credit unions, increase access to safe and affordable financial products to their communities. The main distinction here is that the MDI capacity building initiative is limited to minority depository institutions. The next 3, consumer financial protection, digital services and cybersecurity, and training. These are great opportunities. The dollar amounts, however, are quite a bit smaller. So, credit unions interested in applying for these are welcome to do so. However, CU Collaborate does not currently offer services, grant writing services for these 3 initiatives. The dollar amounts for the consumer financial protection and digital services and cybersecurity awards are $10,000 apiece, whereas the training initiative is the smallest one at $5,000 apiece. All 3 of these initiatives have maximum asset size limits. So if your asset size is above $500 million, for example, you are ineligible to apply for the Consumer Financial Protection Award, and you can see the rest of the limits in the chart. The final initiative here that's in light gray, the Impact Through Innovation Award, we included it here for completeness. However, this initiative is only available to credit unions that won the Impact Through Innovation Award in 2023. It was a pilot initiative broken up into 3 years. So this is the second of the 3 years. And again, unless your credit union won this award last year, it's not on the table this year. Moving on, we can talk about a little bit more detail for the underserved outreach initiative. So the project period for this grant, and really all of the initiatives, is 12 months. So that's something global across, except for the Impact Through Innovation Award. All of the CDRLF initiative awards are 12-month awards. The $50,000 available can be spent in one of 3 different activity areas. So the first is new or expanded outreach efforts. So this can encompass marketing and outreach expenses designed to attract more low-income or underserved members to your credit unions. It can include things like field and membership expansion. It could include, building physical infrastructure in certain communities. So a broad range of activities beyond just marketing can fall under the outreach efforts activity. Next, new or expanded financial education programs. So, the NCUA will allow you to use some of the grant funds to either establish or expand an existing financial education program that your credit union has. So this could include paying for a third-party service if you have online tools on your website. It could pay for classroom instruction to get your members of your staff certified as financial counselors. It could help you establish a financial education seminar program within your community. A lot of different activities could fit under this initiative. And then finally, we have the newer expanded financial products and services. So this is really looking at directing award funds to help your credit union develop and implement a new financial product or program targeted specifically at low income or underserved members of your community. Some examples would be creating a special type of unsecured personal loan. A credit builder loan could fall into this category. Low cost or fee-free savings and checkings accounts could also apply here. Use savings accounts, all those types of products, services. The key here is that the award funds would be specifically used for a single or set of products and services. Next, we can move on into a little bit more detail on how the money can be spent. Each initiative within the CDRLF grant round has its own set of eligible uses of award funds. Since CU Collaborate specializes in the underserved outreach initiative, we've listed the eligible expenses for that initiative here on this slide. You can see that it covers a broad range of expenses from procurement, consulting fees, materials. There is also a category listed as other. If you have expenses that you think can apply to the are in the spirit of the funding initiative, but not listed in the application guidance, the NCUA does allow for other expenses. However, we would encourage credit unions that are considering these types of expenses to reach out to the NCUA's that they have an email address associated with the CDRLF grant round, which we'll make available after the call. But there's an email address. It's also listed in the notice of funding opportunity. We would encourage you to reach out to that email with your idea for and to ask if the expense would be allowed by the NCUA prior to submitting an application.
And I went ahead and popped that into the chat.
Great. Thank you so much, Michael. Yes, cureapps@ncua.gov. And Robbie, I saw your question in the chat. Yes, we will be sending out the presentation as well as the recording to all those who registered for the webinar today. So if you have folks who registered but weren't able to attend, they will also receive it. And then I think we can move on to the next slide where we'll talk a little bit about some of the winning strategies that were successful last year for a couple of the credit unions that we helped apply for this award. So as I mentioned, both of them were under the Underserved Outreach Award. The first was just general marketing and outreach campaign, whereas the second was a combination of a field of membership expansion application, targeting low-income and underserved individuals, as well as marketing expenses to help the credit union, attract members within that expanded field of membership. And I'm going to hand it over to Michael here to talk a little bit more about the work that he's doing with these two institutions.
Yes, thank you, Jason. So this marketing work might and does include list purchasing, email, social media, website improvement, direct mailers, traditional and non-traditional marketing. Generally, we'll start with reviewing your credit union's history, your membership, where they're based, where you're looking to do this outreach, which in this case underserved, and then we would target those individuals based on very targeted lists that we would procure, and then we would send off this marketing to. There's a lot of work that goes into both of these items, so it's pretty exciting to see where we can go with where your credit union is looking to expand regarding their marketing efforts. Back to
Thank
you,
you,
Jason.
Michael. All right, we can go on to the next slide. As with any federal grant, there are strings attached. So in your grant application, in addition to telling the NCUA all the great things that you hope to accomplish with the award funds, you do need to select 2 performance measures that the NCUA will use to determine whether you're compliant with the terms of your grant. The measures are all broadly connected to credit union growth, and in the application, they will provide a list of measures from which to select. We've listed them here. They cover things like asset growth, loan growth, the number of members served, membership growth, and then they provide an other category to allow credit unions to suggest their own performance measures. If you do select this option, you would still need to provide a little bit of explanation to the NCUA, explaining what the metric means, how the data will be collected, and why it is relevant to the funding award. That's one thing to note there. There is a reporting period attached to the if you are successful, you will be asked to report on those performance measures at the midpoint of the performance period after 6 months, and then again at year end. So eligibility and administrative requirements. First and foremost, to apply for these grants, you must have an active low-income designation. If you are in a cure period, as long as you're within the 5-year cure period, you are still qualified to apply for the grant. The next requirement here is to register for SAM.gov. That's the System for Award Management. This is the federal government system for, all federal grant programs as well as federal contracts. We do encourage credit unions who are interested in applying for the CDRLF grant to, check on their registration status as soon as possible. If you are brand new to federal grants, please register for this system as soon as possible. It can take a couple weeks if there are issues with your legal documentation, or if you've gone through name changes or mergers. We found with some clients in the past that this step can take a little bit more time than anticipated. So please start early. We can assist. However, consultants and contractors are unable to access SAM.gov on behalf of clients. So, we can advise based on our experience helping other clients, but unfortunately, this is something that we would not be able to do on behalf of the credit union. The last eligibility requirement here would be is related to CAMELS ratings, and it looks like the final bullet has been cut off. Michael, I'm sorry. I think we might be presenting this from Teams. And if we could switch that to presenting from PowerPoint, that's possible. I think then we'll be able to see the final bullet here. But for the CAMELS ratings, if you're applying for the underserved outreach, they do require that you have a composite rating of 1, 2, or 3, and a management rating of 1 or 2. For all the other initiatives, the requirement is that you have a CAMELS rating of 1, 2, 3, or 4. One note on this, the NCUA has not yet released the 2024 application guidelines document. So this is all based on the 2023 guidelines document. We do expect that they will post the 2024 version in the coming weeks prior to the opening of the grant round. So with that, we can move on to the next slide. So the notice of funding availability was released on April 3rd, last week. We are now in the planning phase, so if you haven't already, register for SAM.gov and start thinking about potential projects projects that you could fund with this grant award. The application round will open on May 1st, and it will close on July 1st. So it's a 60-day window to apply. And then based on last year, the NCUA did put a cutoff date for questions to be submitted related to the grant. It was 2 weeks before the close of the grant round, so we've estimated that they will do the same this year, and that's where that June 17th date comes from. So pretty short application round, but fortunately for credit unions, the grant application itself is fairly straightforward, especially when it's compared to the CDFI funds grant applications. Next slide. As I mentioned earlier, the NCUA favors smaller credit unions in the scoring criteria, and you can see that reflected here in the chart on the left. So based on your asset size, they will add extra points if you fall into one of these asset tiers below $450 million in total assets. So a credit union with $2 million in assets or fewer could get up to 30 points. And then you can see how the scores decrease the extra points decrease as you get closer to that 450 million bucket. So as I mentioned earlier, the underserved outreach initiative is credit unions above $450 million are eligible to apply. However, you will not get any extra points based on your asset size. And from what we saw in the results last year, these extra points can make quite a difference between applications that are, would otherwise score very, relatively similarly. So if you have a small credit union, we definitely encourage you to apply because if you have a good idea, there is a good chance you could get some extra funds for it. The next consideration here is previous participation in the CDRLF. So they favor first-time applicants. So an institution that's never applied can get 5 extra points on their application automatically. If you have not, if you've applied before but you were not successful within the past 5 years, that you can receive 3 points. If you do have, if you've received a loan or a grant from the CDRLF in the past 5 years, though, you will get no points. So these are things to consider as you're looking at the possibility of applying in 2024. And again, once the NCUA releases the application guidelines, we should be able to confirm that these scoring criteria are the same for 2024. And then I think we can move on. That wraps up the material that we prepared here, but we do invite questions and would love to hear from folks if we haven't already.
Jason, we had one question. Is MDI a certification, or do we just have to demonstrate that most of our members are minority?
That is a great question. I am not an expert on the Minority Depository Institution.
I can jump in.
Thank you, Sam.
It is self-reported on the online profile form, which you are prompted to complete when you complete your call report. Actually, I just had a call with the NCUA today about it. It is also the 4501A. I will put a link to the full form here. It is the very end of this, but you basically, if you say that a majority of your members and potential members, and then I believe it's also your board is minority, then you are categorized as a MDI. So it's in page 44 of the PDF. It's page number 41 here, but it is just self-reported. So you just say that a majority of your current and eligible potential members are minority, and that 50% of your credit union's board, more than 50% of your credit union's board are one of the following minorities as well.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Sam. Jason, I have a question. What are the components of the application that credit unions would need to submit?
Thank you, Michael. So, as I mentioned earlier, it's a pretty short application. Um, the specific questions are going to vary by initiative, but broadly speaking, you'll be asked to explain, describe the project, what objective it seeks to achieve. Uh, then there's a component where you're asked to explain the need, both in the community and within the credit union for the award funding. So explaining, what a difference the extra $50,000 or however much award funds you're seeking can make to your community. If you're going for the underserved outreach, you do have to, explain and quantify the underserved population with that you're seeking to reach. So you need to identify them, describe the demographic characteristics, so that that the NCUA can understand that it's not just an aspirational goal or thinking about individuals in the abstract. They really want to see you talk about some of the needs relevant to your actual community. Next, you'll need to describe a little bit about the project and how you intend to implement it. For all of these questions, there are pretty strict character limits within the application form. Last year, we saw 2,000 character limits, which really doesn't give you very much space, just about a half a page or so of single space type. And then lastly, once you describe the implementation plan, you will be asked to explain the impact that you hope to see in the community from receiving this award and executing on your implementation plan. There is also a budget that will need to be submitted along with the application showing the NCUA how you plan to use the award funds. If your budgetary needs exceed the amount of funding available, that's fine. There's a space to provide the total cost of whatever activity you're hoping to fund, as well as the portion of the cost that would be covered by the CDRLF grant.
And actually, I had a question yesterday, Jason, that we expanded on regarding reimbursement and what that looks like. Does a credit union receive the funds directly from the NCUA, or is this a reimbursement they pay out of pocket and then are paid back with the funds, the award funds?
So it's another great question. Based on last year, the NCUA allowed credit unions with assets below 25 million to request advance payments. However, all other awardees, must request reimbursement for their expenses. So you must first incur the cost and then submit a reimbursement request to the NCUA, where you'll be asked to include invoices and other documentation, to show that the funds were spent for the purpose intended in the grant.
We had a question here. Is there help available to get certified for CDFI?
Yes, that's one of our services. We can do a readiness assessment where we'll take a look at your organization's details and your lending data, let you know if you are eligible to apply for certification. If we find that you are eligible, we are happy to assist with the certification application. We also provide services related to CDFI grant writing, and we have a CDFI membership, which will include the annual recertification report. So yes, CDFI is one of our services, and we are happy to help credit unions.
Great. I don't see any other questions popping up, Jason, unless there's anything else that folks think of, which of course you can always reach out to us. I popped a meeting link in the chat a couple of times. It's also up here on the screen if you have additional questions or otherwise. We got one more question. If financial education programming is developed in-house by existing staff in a relevant position, i.e. financial wellness manager, would salary for that position for further and specific development of that programming to reach underserved populations be an acceptable, allowable cost?
This is something that's a great question. it's within the spirit of the award. We would want to clarify this with the NCUA first. For the CDFI funds, technical assistance grants, they do allow staff salary. They explicitly list it as one of the allowable expenses. However, that isn't listed in the NCUA's documentation, but they have that other category, and I would like to, I mean, in this situation, I would argue that it should count. However, we would just want to reach out to the NCUA to confirm.
Right. So as mentioned, we can assist you in all of these processes that Jason went through, including what I went through with the marketing piece. If you do have questions or would like to discuss further, please click on that meeting link, as I noted. The slides and the recording will be sent to everybody who registered, so keep an eye out in your inboxes tomorrow morning. But otherwise, Jason, I think that's everything that we have today.
Great, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks everybody for attending. We really appreciate it.
Take care.